What if we told you that one of the most significant events in recent British history, Brexit, was a journey filled with unexpected turns and twists? Indeed, the decision for the United Kingdom to leave the European Union, commonly known as Brexit, marked a defining moment, not only for the UK, but also for the EU. This decision, made through a referendum, was surrounded by a cloud of uncertainty. The question was simple: should the United Kingdom remain a member of the European Union or leave the European Union? Yet the implications were far from straightforward. The result of the vote sent shockwaves across the globe, setting the stage for a new era in UK-EU relations. Brexit's impact has been felt economically, politically, and socially, altering the dynamics of the UK and shaping its future course. Yet the journey to this monumental decision is a tale worth telling. So, how did Brexit come to be? Buckle up as we take you on a historical ride. The roots of Brexit can be traced back to the UK's uneasy relationship with the EU. This relationship began when the United Kingdom first joined the European Economic Community, the predecessor of the EU, in 1973. The decision was not without controversy, and just 2 years later, in 1975, the UK held its first referendum on EU membership. At that time, the British public voted overwhelmingly to stay, with 2/3 of the population in favour of remaining in the community. However, this decision did little to quell the underlying tensions and disagreements about the nature of the UK's relationship with its European neighbours. Over the next few decades, the term Euroscepticism began to gain traction, encapsulating a growing sentiment of doubt and disenchantment towards the EU. The reasons for this were manifold, ranging from concerns about sovereignty and control to frustrations about bureaucracy and the perceived lack of democratic accountability within the EU. This Euroscepticism was not confined to the fringes of society or to any one political party. It was a sentiment that cut across political lines, resonating with both conservative and liberal voters. And it was this broad-based Euroscepticism that ultimately led to the Conservative Party leader David Cameron promising a referendum on EU membership in 2013. Cameron's promise was a political gamble aimed at appeasing the Eurosceptic wing of his party and stemming the rise of the UK Independence Party. However, it was a gamble that also reflected a genuine and growing public desire for a say on the UK's membership in the EU. This promise of a referendum set in motion a series of events that led to the Brexit vote in 2016. It unleashed a national debate about the UK's place in Europe, a debate that touched on issues of identity, sovereignty, and economic prosperity. And so, the stage was set for a decision that would change the course of the UK's future. The 23rd of June 2016, a date etched in history when the UK voted to leave the EU. The United Kingdom had a momentous decision to make, a decision that would alter its future and redefine its relationship with Europe. The question was simple, yet profound. Should the UK continue being part of the European Union, or should it chart its own course? The answer came in the form of a nationwide referendum, a democratic exercise that saw more than 30 million people cast their votes. The result? A slim majority, about 52% voted to leave, while 48% voted to remain. It was a close call, but it was a clear indication of the public's desire for change. But the referendum wasn't just about the numbers. It was about the divisions it revealed within the UK, between the young and old, the urban and rural, those who felt at home in a globalized world, and those who felt left behind. The immediate aftermath of the referendum was just as dramatic. The Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, who had campaigned in favour of remaining in the EU, announced his resignation. This was a leader who had staked his political career on the referendum, and the result was a personal defeat. In his place, Theresa May stepped in, becoming the second woman to hold the office of Prime Minister in the UK. She was tasked with the monumental responsibility of steering the country through the uncharted waters of Brexit. It was a task fraught with challenges, both at home and abroad. The referendum was a turning point, not just for the UK, but for the European Union as well. It was a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the growing discontent and disillusionment among many Europeans towards the EU. A decision had been made, but the real work was just beginning. The referendum was only the start of a long, complex and often contentious process of disentangling the UK from the EU, a process that would test the resilience of the UK's political institutions and the resolve of its people. The Brexit negotiations, a 2-year process, was a rollercoaster ride. These negotiations, a complex and tumultuous process, were marred by heated debates, sudden resignations, and last-minute deals. As the clock ticked down, the pressure was on to reach an agreement that would shape the UK's future relationship with the European Union. One of the most contentious issues during the negotiations was the Irish border. The aim was to prevent a hard border between Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, and the Republic of Ireland, an EU member. The solution was the so-called backstop, a safety net to ensure no hard border would emerge, regardless of the future relationship between the UK and EU. However, it proved to be a thorny issue, with critics arguing it could potentially tie the UK to EU rules indefinitely. Then there was the issue of citizens' rights. There were concerns about the future of over 3 million EU citizens living in the UK and more than 1 million UK citizens living in the EU. The agreement aimed to safeguard their rights so they could continue to live, work, and study as they did before Brexit. Another sticking point was the UK's financial obligations to the EU, often referred to as the Divorce Bill. This was to cover the UK's share of the EU budget up to the end of 2020, as well as outstanding commitments and liabilities. The final bill was estimated to be around £39 billion. In the midst of these negotiations, Theresa May resigned as Prime Minister, paving the way for Boris Johnson's appointment. Johnson, a prominent Brexit campaigner, vowed to take the UK out of the EU come what may. After much back and forth, the UK officially left the EU on the 31st of January 2020. This marked the end of a tumultuous chapter, but the start of a new era in the UK's relationship with the EU, the consequences of which are still unfolding today. Brexit was not an end, but a beginning of a new chapter. A chapter that has revealed itself to be full of complexities and challenges, reshaping the United Kingdom and its relationship with the European Union. Brexit's impact on trade was immediate and significant. The UK, once a part of the largest single market in the world, had to renegotiate trade agreements, not just with the EU, but with countries worldwide. While some celebrated the freedom to set independent trade policies, others mourned the loss of seamless access to the European market. The result? A landscape of trade that is still evolving, with businesses adapting to new rules and finding ways to navigate through the uncertainties. Immigration policies also underwent a seismic shift. The free movement of people, a cornerstone of the EU, came to an end. The UK introduced a points-based immigration system, prioritising skills and qualifications over nationality. This new system has had profound implications. On one hand, it's given the UK greater control over its borders, but it's also raised concerns about labour shortages in certain sectors, and questions about the UK's commitment to multiculturalism and diversity. And then there's the Northern Ireland Protocol, an aspect of the Brexit deal that continues to spark heated debate. Designed to prevent a hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, the protocol effectively keeps Northern Ireland in the EU's single market for goods. This has led to checks and controls on some goods moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, causing friction and exacerbating political tensions. Brexit has indeed been a game-changer, with effects that extend beyond the shores of the UK. Its ripple effects have been felt in global politics, economics, and beyond. But it's important to remember that we're still in the early stages of this new chapter. The full implications of Brexit and how it will shape the future of the UK and its relationship with the EU are still unfolding. As we navigate through the post-Brexit era, only time will tell the full story of its implications. Brexit, a journey filled with uncertainty, political drama, and historical significance. It's a tale of an uneasy relationship between the UK and the EU, marked by decades of debates and controversies. A story that reached a climax in 2016 with a referendum, a decision that sent shockwaves across the globe. The Brexit negotiations that ensued were nothing short of a political tightrope walk, marked by intense debates and countless renegotiations. And the aftermath? Well, it's an ongoing saga. The implications of Brexit are far-reaching, affecting trade, immigration, and laws, to name just a few areas. It's a shift that has not only redefined the UK's position on the world stage, but also its relationship with its European neighbours. Brexit, a historical event that has and will continue to shape the UK and its relationship with the EU, remains a topic of global interest.